want to welcome everyone to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all of the youth and educational programs here for our museum. And we are especially pleased to have you all joined in here today for our Heart of the Hall of Famer series, something we started about a year ago. And we've had now 12 or 15 different Hall of Famers that are connecting to students all across the country. And we're extremely excited to be able to have this opportunity to share with you our message. And really the idea behind this Heart of the Hall of Famer series is to talk about what it took to get in the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. And we know our Hall of Famers are obviously great examples of athleticism, but it took a lot more than that to get into the Hall of Fame. Because at the core of them is their character, and are those 6 pillars that hopefully you guys are all studying: the trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Because most of our Hall of Famers, and we have an example of that today, it can be said if their God-given ability didn't lie in football, that they would have excelled at some other life endeavor. And again, as I alluded to, Mr. Barney is an example of someone who has achieved great success both on the field and off the field as well. So that's really what today's program is going to be about, and it's really going to feed off of Q&A from you guys. So I saw a lot of the questions you guys have submitted, some great questions, and we're excited to get this conversation rolling. But before we do that, there are a number of folks that we have to thank before we do this, because without them, this wouldn't be possible. And first and foremost, I want to thank our friends at Tamberg and Cisco, Todd Maxwell, the folks there. They have a studio in Southfield, Michigan. I want to say thank you for allowing this connection to be possible as you're hosting Mr. Barney at one of your partner organizations there in Southfield, CDW. So we want to thank the folks at CDW as well for allowing us to connect to their studios and hosting Mr. Barney there. We'd also like to thank our friends at eTech Ohio. All the schools that connect here, for the most part, I think have dealt with eTech one way or the other now through these programs. And tremendous folks there in Columbus, Ohio, supporting us through this technology and all the bridging. I want to thank Aaron and Derek and Michelle and Josh for all the hard work you guys do in making this connection possible. I want to say thank you to our teachers, all the folks involved, and with every school, it takes a lot of teamwork to get this broadcast going. We work with librarians, so we want to thank all the librarians, the tech coordinators, the teachers, all the folks at your respective schools that help make this broadcast possible for your school. And then last but definitely not least, we have to thank the students. You guys have put in the work by researching on Mr. Barney's background, studying the 6 pillars, and coming up with a great list of questions that you guys would like to share here today and ask Mr. Barney. So we want to thank all of you for taking the time to do that. With that being said, I would like to introduce the schools that are connected, because we have students from all across the country tuning in for this broadcast. And when I do call upon your school, teachers, you can feel free to unmute your mics at that time when I call upon that school. Students, you can feel free to show your school spirit by yelling as loud as you want, or I shouldn't say that, because who knows where you're at in school, you might distract your other students, but as loud as you're allowed to at your school, give a little shout out for your school to show your team spirit and your school spirit. So with that being said, we're going to start off in Dayton, Ohio at Stivers School of the Arts. Stiver, are you there?
Yes, we're here.
Y'all gonna be weak. Y'all gotta do something.
No shout out, Stivers? No enthusiasm? No, homie. That was weak. Maybe I caught you guys off guard.
We didn't know we were first, Jerry.
Okay.
It's okay. Horseman will do better than that.
Ready? Stivers School of the Arts.
Yeah. Houdini is back.
Thank you, Stivers. Go ahead and mute your mics there, and we'll stay in Dayton, Ohio, and let's go to Horace Mann School. Yeah! I think you outdid your fellow Dayton public school students there at Stivers. So, Horace Mann, you get the A for your Dayton public schools today. Let's go to Hicksville. Let's stay in the state of Ohio. Hicksville, Ohio. That's good. Thank you, Hicksville. Go ahead and mute your mics. Let's go to our friends in Camden, New Jersey, RT Cream Family School.
Yay!
Thank you, RT Cream. And last but definitely not least, I think the first time you've connected to this program in Cyril, Oklahoma, Cyril Elementary. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
Go!
All right. Choreographed. I like that. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in here today. Just a reminder to keep your mics muted throughout the program until you are called upon. But that leaves us to the real star of the show, and that is obviously the member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame that you guys are connecting here today, Hall of Famer Lem Barney. Before I ask him to share opening remarks with you, I would like to give you a little background information, not only about his on-the-field career, but his off-the-field career as well. Again, he was class of 1992 and the member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He was drafted by the Detroit Lions in 1967, and during that first season, he was the NFL's interception co-leader, as well as Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was a fifth cornerback to enter the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He returned kicks, and he also was an emergency punter, too, so he's kind of a jack of all trades. He had career records of 1,077 yards on 56 interceptions. He had 1,312 yards on punt returns and 1,274 yards on kickoff returns. He scored 11 touchdowns. Now, remind you, he wasn't offense. He was defensive, obviously. He still scored 11 touchdowns in his career. He was named to 7 Pro Bowls as well as all NFL, NFC 4 times. Now, obviously, we know a lot here about his on-the-field achievements here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he also has quite a background. Some might say that even more so of a background off the field as he does on the field. So let me read a little bit of information about Mr. Barney's career off the field. He has a Bachelor of Science degree from Jackson State University. He did that in 1967. He's been on TV. He's been on radio. He's even been on albums. Maybe a little bit before his students' times, but some of the teachers will appreciate this. He was actually one of the background vocalists on Marvin Gaye's hit "What's Going On." Currently, he's the Director of Physician Relations at DMC. He's also the Associate Pastor, Minister with Hope United Methodist Church there nearby Detroit. He's the President and CEO of Supernatural Natural and Associates. And he also serves as a spokesperson for not only the Lions, the National Football League, Premier Speakers Bureau, but also, obviously, the Pro Football Hall of Fame here in Canton, Ohio. His past positions include he was a director of PR for Michigan Consolidated Gas. He was an F&I manager for Melfar Ford. He's also former director of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and as well he's an ambassador for the poor for Salvation Army. Not only with his career background, but he's also been involved with sat on boards as a board member, trustee, or chairman. And just to name a few of those, because we don't have enough time in the program to name all the organizations that Mr. Barney's been involved with, but some of those include the Goodwill Industries, Boy Scouts of America, the Detroit Metro Prison Fellowship Care Committee, as well as Prison Fellowship for the National Rehab Consultants. So on top of that, Mr. Barney is married, has 2 children, and 1 grandson. And before we asked Mr. Barney to have his opening remarks, we would like to show you guys a little bit of footage on Mr. Barney on the field.
The Detroit Lions defensive back Lem Barney was always a big play threat. As a first-year player in Detroit, Barney won Defensive Rookie of the Year honors in 1967, picking off 10 passes in 14 games. Lem Barney played defense like a cat on the prowl, intercepting 56 passes and scoring 11 defensive touchdowns during his career.
Okay, if all the schools will unmute their mics for a moment and join me in giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Lem Barney. And we'll ask all the schools to unmute your mics. Mr. Barney, the mic is yours for your opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Jerry, for having me again. To all of the students and to the educators, we welcome you today, and we trust and pray we can get some things across the board that will help the students to grow in great character.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Barney. And again, we appreciate you taking your time out of your busy morning, almost afternoon, and taking the time to share your message here today with the students. Just a reminder to schools, we are going to rotate in order, and I'll give you the order right now. The order of those questions will be based upon whoever registered first. So that order will be Stivers School for the Arts. So Stivers, start getting your questions prepared Hicksville High School, Archie Cream Family School, Horace Mann School, and then Surreal Elementary. We will work in that order. We will go first round. Each school can ask 2 questions. If you can, number one, in between, after your questions are done, if you can mute your mics in between those questions, just to make sure we minimize any background noise. The one thing I encourage you guys to do, as I've seen them reflected in your questions that you've submitted, is really ask some thought-provoking questions. So if you think about this now, you are asking one of the greatest football players that has ever played in the National Football League. And I know a lot of you maybe haven't heard of Lem Barney before you did some research on him today. But when you start thinking about the great cornerbacks in the National Football League right now, the guys like Antonio Cromartie and Darrelle Revis, they aspire to be in the shoes of Mr. Barney and be a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And as I showed with the schools earlier, I would suspect that they probably would love to be in the shoes off the field, being such an accomplished individual and someone who I think personifies really, as you heard some of the organizations, foundations he worked with, someone that those last 2 pillars, caring and citizenship, really do apply. So I encourage you guys, you have the opportunity to ask what obstacles he encountered, what barriers, because he was a student just like you guys, working hard to get through school and through college and working with family members and friends and all the different things that you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis. He was a person just like you, and he still is today a person just like you, just with a few more years of experience on his side. So with that being said, we're going to start off with Stivers School for the Arts. You can go ahead and start off with your 2 questions there. Go ahead.
Who are some of your personal heroes and why?
Some of my personal heroes are, and your name again is?
Prentice.
Prentice? Okay, Prentice, thank you very much. Some of my personal heroes, first of all.
Just second, Mr. Barney. Stivers, can you mute your mics? We're getting a little bit of feedback in there. If you can mute your mics in between your questions, that'd be great. Go ahead, Mr. Barney.
Okay, Prentice, thank you very much for that question. That's a great question. Unfortunately, like a lot of kids that I've heard and I grew up with who had various other role models, my role model as a young kid and still today was my mom and dad, the late, great Burdell and Lem Barney. I always had great adoration and great respect for my mom and dad. I grew up with 3 sisters as an only boy. And my mom and dad they were great role models. I always wanted to exemplify them. I wanted to be like they were. And I think if not there, I'm pretty close to them. But my mom and my dad were my role models and my heroes. And I later learned to be able to respect some of the men who had played before me in the game of football. Herb Adderley, Dick Night Train Lane, some guys who played in the National Football League when I was in college. But the overall role models for me was my mom and dad.
Go ahead with your second, Stivers.
Hi, my name is Donovan Wilder, and my question is, was playing pro football all you thought it would be, or were there things that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I think, and I didn't get your last name. You was a little fast on it.
My name is Donovan Wilder.
Okay, Donovan Mr. Wilder. I got Wilder. I didn't get your first name. Dominic Wilder?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilder. Yeah, playing professional football was not only all that I thought it was even more. By playing middle school, I started playing middle school in the 9th grade out in San Bernardino, California. And after leaving California, coming back to Gulfport, Mississippi, my hometown, I played in the marching band first, and then my sophomore year, I got into playing football. I started out as a quarterback, and I punted also in high school. And getting on to college, the game became easier for me, believe it or not. From middle school, which was the hardest part of my football years, playing in high school was tough because of the competition I had to play against. And then once I got to college, it even got tougher. and you got a lot of guys from various states that you're playing with and playing against, so it became tougher. But after 4 years of application, preparation, and execution at Jackson State University and playing football, drafted to the Detroit Lions in 1992, I played an 11-year career with the Detroit Lions, and I think my professional end of playing football was my easiest end of it, if you can believe it or not. But it was all through the application, preparation, and the execution of what I was doing to prepare myself to get ready to apply myself through executing the plays in which I did. So, the game was a great deal greater than what I thought it was going to be, because not being inside, trying to get inside, but once you're inside, you do learn that the game is great as you thought it was, and even greater because of the caliber of the players.
Okay, thank you, Stivers. Let's go to Hicksville High School. If you have a couple of questions, go ahead.
What is your greatest memory from Hicksville or from high school football?
One of my greatest memories from high school football, and it happened, believe it or not, it happened not only just in high school, but it happened also in middle school when I was out in San Bernardino, California. The first time I touched the ball in my middle school career at Sturgis Junior High in San Bernardino, California, it was an 85-yard punt return. The second opportunity, once I got to high school, it was a quarterback sneak for 80 yards to win a ball game. And my first game in my college career was against Fort Benning down in Georgia. I made an interception and it returned it back for 86 yards. Then once I got to the professional level with the Detroit Lions, my first pass against me, which was the second play of my first game against the Green Bay Packers, who were the defending Super Bowl champs, Bart Starr tried to throw a quick out. I intercepted the ball and I ran it in for a 29-yard touchdown. So all phases of the game was pretty exciting for me, and big plays was one of the things that I've always loved to do.
Go ahead, Hicksville, with your second.
What are some obstacles that you had to overcome?
Some of the obstacles I had to overcome. There's a lot of obstacles or challenges that you might want to say, but I think the greatest obstacle I had to overcome was my 7th year in the league, playing against the Houston Oilers down in the Houston Astrodome. I was returning my 6th punt return for the day, and Don Pastorini, who was the quarterback, was also the punter. I made a move on him. It was the last man between me and the goal line, and I made 2 moves on him, and on that second move, playing on the AstroTurf, I ripped a groin muscle that started at the base of my left knee, and it inserted all the way up over near my navel, and all the blood drained down in my scrotum. I missed 8 ball games in a row. Doctors didn't think I would ever play again, and they also said I would perhaps be sterile because of the injury. But I never felt that I would never play again, and I didn't think that I would be sterile as well. But after missing 8 games, I came back and I played the last 4 ball games of the season, and I think that's been my greatest challenge in all of my life. But I overcame it. I didn't give up. I didn't give in, and I said I was going to win, and I ended up winning.
And thank you, Hicksville. When you heard him say he never gave up or never gave in, those are words that he lives by and words that we can all live by in every element of our life, whether it's whatever that obstacle is in your way, whether it's an injury in sports, whether it's a test that you have, whether it's a bully in your school or in your neighborhood, or whatever it might be. And, finding a way to overcome that, whether it's over it, under it, around it, or right through it if you have to. Sometimes you have to go through stuff too. So, those are words to live by in your everyday lives. Again, thank you, Hicksville. Let's go to our friends in Camden, New Jersey. RT Cream Family School. If you got your questions, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Taquan.
When you first step on a football field, what goes through your mind?
Well, when I first step on the football field, what goes through my mind is that we've got 60 minutes to go because you go out for pregame warm-up. But the greatest thing about it, whether it was in high school, middle school, or college, or even playing professional football, the intensity of the game is the same. The level of the game varies because of the veterans and the years that guys have been playing. Once you get to professional level, there's nothing else to go to. But it's still through the same operation of preparation, application, and execution. So it all starts down when you step out on the field to play. How well did you practice during the course of the week? How well did you prepare? How well did you apply yourself in the classroom and studying the game and breaking down film on the team you were going to play? And then what did you do? What did you do during that week of preparation, application for execution on game day? And I had butterflies. I mean, everybody have a little butterflies, a little itchiness before the game starts. But once contact is initiated, and I return punts and I return kickoffs, so I was somewhere on the field at all times. Sometimes I played safety on the kick cover team if we had to kick off. But once I had that initial contact, I felt good and was ready to play the game.
And that's the thing a lot of these students maybe you don't see, or you don't see it, is what you guys, the product that you see on Sunday in the National Football League is kind of the, I don't know, the glory part, I guess, the game. We all love to play in the games, but you don't realize how much work and preparation and game footage and studying and all those things that go in each week for these players to be prepared. And going back to, you'll hear Mr. Barney repeat this a few times, preparation and application for execution. That again, that applies on the field, it applies off the field, it applies in all elements of our lives. RT Cream, if you can go over to your second question. If we can have you guys make sure to mute your mics in between your questions too, that'd be greatly appreciated.
My name's Joel Silva. How would you describe yourself off the field?
Did you say Joe was your name?
Joel Silva.
Okay, Joseph. How do I consider myself off the field? I'd like to consider myself a person who shows respect for other people. I have the trustworthiness about myself, and so I'm able to trust others. I'm a responsible person, and I'd like to try to encourage others to be responsible. I've always tried to play fair. I've always said before a game in my prayer, Lord, let us all play with the true spirit of sportsmanship and let no man get maimed seriously. I'm a caring person. I got a lot of these pillows from my mom and dad, who, as I mentioned earlier, were my role models and my heroes. And I've always tried to show and display great citizenship. So I've always looked at myself. I've always had great esteem about myself. Not to say that I'm better than anyone else, or bigger, or badder, or tougher, or greater than anyone else, but I've always had great respect for myself, and I've always respected the rights of others.
Great question. Thank you, Kareem. Let's go to Horace Mann, Dayton, Ohio.
Hello, my name is Winston Lowe, and I am from Horace Mann Pre-K in Dayton. And I would like to know, how do you believe your life would be different if you were never an athlete?
If you could you read your question one more time? It was sort of a little choppy. Please.
How do you believe your life would be different if you were never a professional athlete?
Okay, very good question. How do I believe my life would be if I was not a professional athlete? Well, playing professional football, for me, by my mother and my father, was my second choice in life. Both my mom and my dad wanted me to be an educator, a teacher, a great instructor. And it was my dream and my goal to become a professional football player. So Had I not made it as a professional football player, plan A, which is what my mom and dad had for me, to become an educator would have been my next professional goal in life, was to become the great educator that I could be. And I've done some student teaching over the years, so if it had not been professional football, it would have certainly been my education that I had to become a great teacher.
Great question there, Horace, man. Go with your second.
My name is Matthew Colosimo. My question is there any events in your life that tested your personality or your character?
I think the injury that I had, it was a great test because I don't know if you heard it, but I ripped a groin muscle and missed 8 games in a row. And doctors told me I would perhaps never play again, and I would perhaps be sterile and wouldn't be able to produce children. But I had my daughter also after this was over with, and after missing the 8 games, I still felt that I could play, and I played 5 years after that. So, I mean, that was in my life, as I look at my life, the greatest test of my life was if I was going to be able to return to football. And as a result, continuing to work hard to rid myself of the injury. It took a long time for tissue to heal, unlike it does for a bone to reconnect itself. Tissue takes the longest time to re-heal. And so I didn't give up. I didn't give in. I wasn't going to quit. And as a result, I continued to work hard. I continued to train hard. And the greatest thing about it is I believed in myself. I believed that I could come back from this severe injury. And as a result, I did come back and continued to play football, professional football, for another 5 years. So that was my greatest obstacle as I look back on my life that I ever had to encounter. And I can say today, thank God, I won.
And you heard Lem say, that he believed in himself, and having that self-worth, and a lot of times that stems from being well prepared. I mean, you guys know as well as I do, there were tests that I didn't study quite as hard for, that I was not confident going into that test, because I didn't study hard enough for it. But the tests that I did study for, which were most of them, I felt like I was going to, conquer that because of, again, going back to, as Mr. Barney will share a few times, let me look down at here real quick, preparation, application, for execution. So again, I'm sure he'll refer to that as I'll probably refer to it a couple more times. And I think it's something I'm going to write on my wall in my office. I love that little phrase there, Mr. Barney. So thank you, Horace Mann. Let's go to Oklahoma. Sorrel Elementary. Go ahead with your questions.
Hi, this is Chelsea. Did you have someone that really inspired you to make it to the NFL, and how?
Did you say Chelsea was your name?
Yeah.
Okay, Chelsea. Yes, I had a couple of guys that I really respected and had the opportunity to meet, and became one of them as well, that inspired me to play in the National Football League. The first gentleman's name was Dick Night Train Lane, who played for the Detroit Lions. And he still holds the NFL record for interceptions in a rookie season. He had 14 his rookie year, and they were only playing 12 league games. And the other gentleman that I had that was a person that I really admired as a defensive back was Herb Adderley, who played for the Green Bay Packers under the late, great coach Vince Lombardi. They won the first Super Bowl ever, the Green Bay Packers. Not only the first Super Bowl, they won the second Super Bowl as well, first and second. But these were two gentlemen that certainly had a big influence on my life. I watched them, I tried to study them, and I had the great occasion to meeting both these gentlemen, and we were great friends as well. So we all need role models in our life, people that are doing things that we would like to do, particularly the great things in life. When you can find a role model that you could replicate or want to duplicate and can speak with or have a conversation with and says, there's a person I'd like to be just like, that does a whole lot for their attitudes as well. So we all need good role models, and these two gentlemen certainly was a role model for me in professional football.
Go ahead, Sorrell, with your second.
Hi, my name is Brianna Moore. What was the biggest thrill of your career?
I didn't hear it. Could you give it again, please, your question?
What was the biggest thrill of your career?
Okay. I heard you. I've got you now. Thank you very much. I would believe my biggest thrill of my career, there were so many of them as well. My first play against the Green Bay Packers, the first pass that Bart Starr tried to throw on me, it was the second play of the game. This is the beginning of the game. And it was thrown a little low and away, and I dove, I stretched out, I intercepted the ball. I did a forward shoulder roll, and I got up, and I ran it into the end zone for a touchdown for 29 yards. And as I got to the end zone, I slammed the ball down on the turf, and the ball popped upward. And as I looked up, and I looked to the heavens, and I said, Lord, this is going to be easy. Because, I mean, it was my first play as a professional football player, first pass play, and I intercepted it and ran it in for a touchdown. That was really a big play for me. But another great moment was the time I was enshrined in Canton's Football Hall of Fame in 1992. However, this was after my career, but I mean, it was still a part of my football career by being enshrined in professional football's Hall of Fame. A great feeling.
Thank you, Sorrell, for the great questions. And let's go back to the top again. Let's go to Stivers.
My name is Jasmine. What do you think is the most important? What do you think is most important in a person's character and why?
Could you repeat the question, because there was some chairs moving? I couldn't hear your complete question, please.
What do you think is most important about a person's character and why?
You need to do it one more time. You need to do it one more time. Just slow down.
What do you think is most important in a person's character and why?
Okay. What I think is most important in a person's character and why? Well, let me define character. Character is one of the attributes of features that makes up and distinguishes the individual. So there are a lot of things that I could say about the character, but character defines you. People will relate to you as well as me as about our character. They can look at our dispositions that we might be carrying on our face, sometimes a sullen face with no smile and no break. People think you're hard-nosed or you don't care, or you might have an attitude. So if you got a cheerful smile on your face, a loving smile, people will look at you and want to embrace you, because everybody loves to be with somebody that's happy or cheerful. So character is one of the greatest things that help to identify you. So always walk around with a loving smile on your face. Always have a pleasant word to say to someone when you meet or greet them for the first time. And these are the things that help to identify who we are. Our character will always follow us. Very good question, dear.
Go ahead, Stivers, if you have another one. Great question.
Hello, my name is Daryl Highsmith, and my question is, where did you grow up, and what are some of the challenges you had to face in order to become a pro athlete?
Okay, Daryl only said your name was Daryl, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Daryl, that's a very good question. Daryl, I grew up in Gulfport, Mississippi, right down on the coast. I was geographically about 70 miles from New Orleans going west, New Orleans, Louisiana, and 70 miles going east from Mobile, Alabama. Some of the things that I really enjoyed doing was, first of all, being respectful of my mom and my dad. I learned to respect them, and then I can learn to respect other people, and that's one of our 6 pillars is showing respect. You get no respect because you give no respect. So I learned to respect people early on. It was tough for me to outrun my dad's belt. I was a fast guy, Daryl, but I could not run my dad in his belt. So the belt would always come out. I grew up with 3 sisters. My dad was always there to discipline all of us when we got out of line. So being a person of respecting my mom and dad, I could respect other people's mom and dad. And so learning to respect people, it's one of the greatest pillars that you can do. And before you can learn to respect someone else, you must first learn to respect yourself. And once you've learned to respect yourself, the sky's the limit because you'll respect everybody else, and everybody else will learn and love to respect you as well.
Thank you, Stivers. And let's go to our friends at Hicksville.
What were some of the temptations you faced that threatened your career?
Now, let me try to repeat the question. Did you say, what are some of the temptations that threatened my career?
Yep.
Okay. Well, okay, thank you. That's okay. Well, there was always temptations. There will always be temptations. How well do you respect yourself? How responsible a person are you? How fair do you want to be with yourself? You'll be that fair with other people. The trustworthiness of yourself. These are things that we will always go through. There are a lot of things. During the years I came up in the league, and from not even in the league before I got to the league, high school, in fact. High school, there was guys that would break away and try to buy wine or beer or smoking cigarettes or doing drugs. These things are not just hitting the scene. They've always been around. So there will always be temptations, but as long as you don't yield or give in to the temptations, that makes you even a stronger person to deal with even greater temptations as you continue to not only to go through life, but to grow through life. Temptation will always be around us. How strong are you? How strong do you see yourself? And that's the greatest things that we have to do is be fair and be honest with ourselves. We can be fair and honest with everybody else.
Great question there, Hicksville. Do you have another?
What is the most important trait of a successful person?
The most important trait for a successful person was the question, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Giving it all you have. Doing the very best you can at all times. First, again, you have to be honest with yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Am I putting in what I need to be able to accomplish the goals in which I want to achieve? If you're fair and honest with yourself, the work ethics have to be there, the moral issues have to be there, you can achieve anything you want to in life. You have to remember, people will help you to accomplish the goals in which you've set for yourself if they see you working hard enough to achieve them yourself. If you're an upright person, if you're an honest person with yourself, if you show trustworthiness to yourself, the citizenship, caring for yourself, the fairness, all of these 6 pillars that we've talked about, if you show these, there are many people that will help you to accomplish and achieve the goals you want to set and accomplish in life.
Now, you guys notice he didn't say the key to success was to being the smartest, or the key to success was being the fastest, or, the best football player. To work the hardest. To work the hardest. So, in the NFL, at least I can say, is that there are a lot of great athletes in this country, and a lot of athletes that have the caliber to make it in the National Football League. What separates them is how hard they're willing to work. You hear the greats from Lem Barney to, whether it's Jerry Rice, whoever. One of the things you always hear about these, Art Monk is another one that we just did a program with. One of the things you always hear about these folks is how well and how hard they prepared to get where they're at. And that's the same thing for you guys. How hard are you willing to work to be a great athlete, to be a great student, to be a great brother or sister, or to be a great citizen in your community? So, I think that's a great point, giving it all you have in everything that you do. And I guarantee you'll be a success. It might not necessarily mean you'll be a Hall of Famer, or it might not necessarily mean you get an A on the test, but when you walk away knowing that you gave it your all, you'll walk away proud, and you'll continue. That helps you develop your character. So, with that being said, let's go to RT Cream, Camden.
Hi, my name is Carlos Bernard, and my question is, what did it take to get into the Football Hall of Fame?
Okay, Carlos, that's a very good question. Again, my dream as a young kid was to play professional football. You don't dream about getting into the Hall of Fame. If a person starts off dreaming about getting into the Hall of Fame, I think he's having a nightmare. But the point being, you think about being the greatest player that you can be. This was my dream, to become the greatest player that I could become. I used to watch football games on television. This is before color TV, Carlos. This is doing black and white television. And I could see guys, and I could see him doing moves and catching the ball and throwing the ball and tackling people. And I said I wanted to be like that one day. And I held tight to that dream. I didn't sway from it. So playing my first organized football in San Bernardino, California in middle school, I was very good. I saw progress. I went back home to Gulfport, Mississippi, and played in high school football as a quarterback, punt returner, and I punted. Saw improvement. I went to Jackson State on a scholarship, started playing and saw promises, and the game's still escalating. My speed is getting better. My determination is getting stronger. I was drafted by the Detroit Lions in the second round in 1967 draft, became the Defensive Rookie of the Year, co-interception leader, played in my first Pro Bowl, which I ended up playing in 7 Pro Bowls. So it was always a point of growing and trying to always climb the success ladder. And whatever it is, doesn't have to be just football, but this is what it was for me. Now, had it not been football for me, I would have been in a room like you're in now as an educator, as an instructor, or as a great teacher. This was my mom's goal and dream, for me to become an educator. But I hit it pretty good in football. The Lord blessed me with some great skills and talents, and I took advantage of it. I utilized the skills and the talents that the Lord gave me, worked hard every day. I didn't want nobody in practice to out-practice me every day. That's how it was. Every day you have to give it your very best in order for you to become the very best. You have to give it all you have. You've got great skills. You've got great talents, all of you. You have to find that niche in life, that what you really want to do. You have to set a goal. You have to see a light. You have to see the star that you want to embrace one day. And believe me, you can achieve it. If the mind can conceive it, if the heart believe it, you can truly achieve it.
In Cream Family School, do you have another one there?
My name is Tatiana. What is the most important to you? Playing football or being a good person and being a good role model?
Okay, I didn't hear all the questions. Say it again, please.
Which is more important to you, playing football or being a good person and a good role model?
Well, I think I would say all three of them: the role model and being a good person, and being a good football player. Because had I just come to the league and not become a great football player, I would have think I've wasted some of the God-given skills and talents. But I'd like to think I'm a good role model and I'm a good person. I'm a loving person, first of all. I love the things that I do. I try not to do anything that's not going to give me satisfaction. Some of the greatest things I love to do today is I play tennis. I love tennis. I love golf. I play golf all the time. And I love to work out. Now, these are the activities, but some of my greatest skills today are I still love to read. How many of you love to read? Raise your hands. Let me give you a little quotation. Reading good books is like drinking from fountains of wisdom. If you want to be wise, read good books.
Thank you, Cream. And let's go back to Dayton, Ohio. Horace Mann.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Wolf, and I am from Horace Mann Pre-K through 8 School in Dayton, Ohio. I would like to know, out of the 6 pillars of character, trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship, which do you believe are the most important, and why?
Okay, that's a very good question. I've always had the good fortune of understanding what character is all about. And character is one of the attributes of features that makes up and distinguishes an individual. Now, these 6 pillars of character are all great: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. To be a successful person in life, you need all of these 6 characters. Now, trustworthiness first starts with you. How well do you trust yourself? If you're honest with yourself, you can be honest with others. And honesty starts with you. It's like love. Love begins with you. You cannot be able to truly love someone else until you've learned to truly love yourself. Respect. If you don't respect yourself, it's hardly true that you're going to be able to respect anybody else. Responsibility. We all have responsibilities. And I'm sure all of you today, where you're sitting now, you had some responsibilities perhaps before you left home. To make up your bed, put your bed slippers underneath your bed, take a shower, take a bath, groom yourself before coming to school. That's about responsibilities. You have some chores you might have to do when you get home. Then there's the fairness. You have to be fair with yourself before you'll be fair with anyone else, because you really won't know what fairness is. And then caring. If you care for yourself, truly care for yourself, and we could put love in there as well. Love and caring goes hand in hand. You can care and you can love for others. And being a good citizen. You have to be a good neighbor. You have to be one who cares for others around you. No man is an island, and no one makes it on his own. So you have to learn to bind with others.
Hello, my name is Dog. Hello, my name is Dog. And the question I want to know is, what can a student do to develop their character if they're not able to participate in extracurricular sports and activities?
Okay. If a student is not able to play and engage themselves in athletic activities, there are some other great goals you could become. As I mentioned early on, had I not made it professionally in football, my backup was, because I had an education, I wanted to become an educator. I wanted to become a great instructor, a great teacher, a professor, even a college professor. So you always have to use your skills and talents in which you've been trusted to. You were born with certain gifts. You were born with certain qualities. You were born with certain characters. If it's not going to be in athletics, it certainly can be somewhere else. You may become a great instructor. You might become an artist. You may become a great musician. It's not you're just beginning. You haven't got to the end of it yet. You're still on the path for growing and progressing to become whatever you'd like to become. And whatever your goal in life is, reach high for it. Dare to dream big. Dare to dream big, because dreams can come true.
And Mr. Barney, looking at those, what kind of activities beyond just the sports in high school? If you're a high school student or giving advice to high school students, what kind of activities do you think they can be involved in aside from sports in high school that can help shape their character? That might teach them that teamwork, might teach them that, relying upon teammates and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I tell you, Jerry, I did it all in high school. Not only was I on the football team, I played basketball, I ran track, I was in the marching band, I played in the concert band, I sang in the choral group, I was in the arts and science group as well. So there are a variety of things a person can do that where it was going to lead him or her to making a decision to where they really want to try to skyrocket their career too. It's not only in athletics, but it's in the arts and the sciences as well.
Thank you, Horseman. And I think they got disconnected. Cyril, are you guys still there? Cyril, Oklahoma. Well, it looks like we have about 8 minutes. Let's try and take one from each group. Let's go back to Stivers. One question there, Dayton, Ohio, Stivers. No Stivers. Okay. Hicksville, if you have a last question.
Say. My name is Keon Hoskins, and my question was, if you can remember, what was your favorite college moment?
Yes, I can remember, Kiana, my very first college moment was when the coach called my name out as a freshman. They did not redshirt me because had I been redshirted as a freshman, that would meant I had to have a 5-year program at Jackson State University. But my name was called out on making the team as a freshman in 1963 at Jackson State University. And when I got the uniform and knew that I was a Tiger, that was a very, very happy and gratifying moment for me because this is where the dream began. The dream began at Jackson State. And once I was called out as one of the active ball players my freshman year, I thought I was on my way. And it was always gratifying to know that I had made the team as a freshman at Jackson State University, where the late, great Walter Payton played. So that was a defining moment for me my freshman year, 1963.
Thank you for the question, Stivers. Hicksville, last question there.
How did you prepare on the week of a game?
That's a very good question. The preparation, application for execution has always been a mantra for me. The game coming up is always something to be tested, but to help to pass that test, you've got some studying points. We had film, we watched film for 5 different days on the team that we were going to play upcoming Sunday, and you had a lot of different plans. What a defense will do to an offensive team, as a defensive back, it was already broken down, and I'd help to break it down to find out what an offensive coordinator would try to do to the secondary on 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, or 1st and 10, 2nd and short, 3rd and short, goal line, midfield, short yardage situation, and a 5-ball game breakdown. The 5 games that they've had in the last 5 games, we have the right to watch. So the games are broken down by down. So everything that this team that we're about to play on the next week, that they did again on 1st and 10, 2nd and short, 3rd and long, 3rd and short, midfield, short yardage or goal line, that was successful in the last 5 ball games, they're going to not go away from that. They're going to stick to it and then try to execute it again in the 6th ball game that we're about to play. So preparing yourself, applying yourself, getting ready to execute for yourself, it's very important. And we did it in a 5-game breakdown of the team in which we were about to play.
Thank you, Hicksville. Let's go to Camden, New Jersey. Cream Family School. Last question for you guys.
What was the hardest team you played against?
Okay, all the teams that I played against were very hard. They were tough, and I respected every team that I played against. I respected every person that I covered because by being in the National Football League, they all had the capability of beating me as a defensive back. But the toughest, I guess, that I always played, I played against, and they really weren't the toughest, but they were the toughest for us to win against. The Minnesota Vikings, they had the mantra of being the purple people eaters because their uniforms were purple. They had a 13-game win streak on the Detroit Lions at one time, a 13-game win streak, and that was hard. That was disheartening as well as heartbreaking. And I can say to you, in true essence, I'm a real man, and I cried on every one of those 13 straight losses to the Minnesota Vikings.
Thank you, Kareem. And let's go to Horace Mann for last question.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey, and my question is, how important do you feel accountability is on and off the field?
Could you repeat yourself? Slow it down.
How important do you feel accountability is on and off the field?
Okay, that's a very good question. Accountability is everything, not only, as you mentioned, on the field, but off the field as well. You learn about accountability where you're sitting right now in school. You learn that you can be counted on. That shows that you have accountability. And once that you show others that you have accountability, others can be able to depend and count on you. It's a very, very important pillar here in the characters of these 6 characters that we've been studying. Accountability means everything in life.
Okay, thank you, Horace Mann. And Mr. Barney, do you have any, we're coming down to the last couple minutes here, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to share with the students, maybe something we didn't touch on that you feel you'd like to share here today with the students?
Yeah, Jerry, again, it's been a joy being a part of this, the Heart of a Hall of Famer, and to all the educators who've worked hard to prepare their students with the questions. And again, we've said a lot of things today about responsibility, fairness, caring, citizenship, respect, and trustworthiness. They don't mean a thing just by saying them. You have to actually do them. The key to life is executing. You have to do it. Yeah, you hear the word, you can read the word, you can say the word, but the word means nothing until you actually accomplish it by doing the word. So all of you students who have the chance to be on today and hear the comments that have been made and the questions that have been asked, trust yourself to be as fair to yourself as you can. Always to yourself be true. Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true, and to no other person can you be false. And truth, like love, starts with you.
Well, Mr. Barney, on behalf of the Hall of Fame and our board and from our director Steve Perry on down, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your morning to connect with us and share your message with these students here today. And if all the schools, if you can unmute your mics for a second and join me in giving a round of applause and saying thank you to Hall of Famer Lem Barney. We would like to say thank you to all the teachers, the schools from Stivers, Hicksville, RT Cream, Horace, and Sorrel. Thank you for all your hard work and making sure that your students were well prepared and they asked some really outstanding questions. So we want to say thank you for that. We also want to thank our friends at Tamberg and Cisco at CDW as well as eTech Ohio for helping to make this connection possible. And again, thank you to Hall of Famer Lem Barney for taking time out of your morning. So this concludes our program. Thank you, everyone.